Happy Wednesday, everybody. Welcome to Fire Talk, where we give you the latest news updates on Southeastern University athletics. I'm Ken Ingle, president of Southeastern University, and joining me, as always, is Drew Watson, our director of athletics. Good to see you, Drew. How are you today?
Doing well, doing well. As you mentioned on X this morning, today marks the 23rd anniversary of the 9/11 terrorist attacks. Seems like yesterday. When you think about it, a majority of our undergrad student population wasn't even alive. They weren't born then.
Wasn't born at that time. I mean, it's obviously one of those significant days in our nation's history, and one of those days that you always remember where you were. I was in Southern California, and I was actually down in Costa Mesa, Irvine area. I was attending a board meeting that I was serving on, and I remember we had all the news on, and of course it was early in the morning. Super early in California, but driving back, the freeways, which are always packed in Southern California, empty. I mean, literally, it was almost like I was the only one driving on the freeway. Wow. It was eerie because, they had grounded pretty much everything. And by then, everybody's just kind of at home. But it was, something that's you'll never forget. And I remember sports actually played a major role in the country's recovery from the events of that day. You'll remember, and particularly in New York, where President Bush threw out the first pitch on a very emotional night. It was about a week after the attacks, and he did very well at that pitch too.
He threw a strike.
Exactly, and I mean, so many tributes that night to the brave men and women who lost their lives trying to save others, for sure.
Yeah, I was at I grew up in the Philly area, and I was at the Phillies game, their first game back from the 9/11 break. And it was kind of an eerie silence about the ballpark. It was not the usual buzz. It was just really quiet. Scott Rowland hit 2 homers that night, and even in the home runs, it was kind of a muted silence.
Right.
Kind of a cool other end of this. I don't know if you remember the night that we got Osama bin Laden.
Yeah.
The Phillies were playing the Mets in Sunday Night Baseball, and I was there.
Yeah.
And it was the only sporting event going on nationally at that time. And so the news, we started getting our phones started beeping, and all of a sudden a USA, USA chant breaks out in the whole crowd, and the announcer's like, I don't know what's going on, and then they realized what had happened, and just to be part of that moment, kind of on the other end of 9/11, it's just crazy.
Yeah, and speaking of the night when we got Osama, I was actually at the White House.
Wow.
So when Obama came out to make that announcement,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, that was pretty fascinating. That was actually my first semester on the job as president.
Wow.
Here at SEU, and was in D.C. for a meeting, and happened to be at the White House that night. So it was interesting.
It's interesting.
Fascinating.
Yeah, that's the summer I started working here. So I was my last Phillies game before moving to Florida.
Yeah. And we're just grateful we can remember, and we will certainly never forget what happened that day. The memories of those who will stand forever as examples of strong heroism and sacrifice, for sure.
Absolutely. It's something we should never forget.
All right, so let's get reviewing our fall sports, catching up on what's happening since our last show.
Let's do it.
Yeah, a lot of good things. We'll start with volleyball, where the ladies traveled to Florida Memorial University, had no problem with the Lions beating them 3-0.
Yeah, it's always Florida Memorial was the conference champs 3 years ago, and so their program has kind of ebbs and flows with whoever their head coach is. So women played really well. I think it was a match that Coach Phelps was able to get a lot of players in to get some playing time, and always good to get that first W in conference.
Yeah, and tonight a big game, our home opener with our volleyball team, and they're playing a new conference member.
Yes, New College of Florida, home opener, 7:00. So we've got some new pregame things that we're rolling out tonight. Going to turn the lights off a little bit and have some fog, and it's a developing situation, but we're trying to enhance the student athlete experience.
I know Karen and I are gonna be excited to be able to go to tonight's game and look forward to seeing our first home game.
Yes, absolutely.
Cross country, where the men and women kicked off their season last Saturday. Actually, the only home race this fall season at Holloway Park at the Fire Invitational. The women won. The men finished second.
Yeah, on the women's side, the Fire, bunched our first 5 finishers were bunched, so that got us over the top. Grace Fetter, who we had on the show last week, she was the first of 3 straight SU teammates. She finished in 3rd place overall. Jillian Blazer and Jaden DeVerna followed in 4th and 5th, and the women were able to get it done.
Yeah.
The men, we had Ethan Campbell and Joshua Shields led SU. We just barely finished in second, but that's a meet that's got a few D2s at it, and then, it's just a really good challenge for us.
Yeah, I mean, it was great team efforts, and look forward to the next run. By the way, when will they be running again?
They have some time off here, September 27th in Tallahassee at the Florida State Invitational.
All right, great. Let's move to women's soccer. They traveled to Foley, Alabama over the weekend to face number 3 Tennessee Southern, and then also played number 2 William Carey. Didn't quite have the weekend I'm sure they had hoped to have. I know it was a tough time.
Yeah, I mean, we like to be fair and balanced here on the show, and it's not fun to talk about losses, but team really struggled this weekend, and I think the encouraging piece of that is they also struggled in that trip last year, and they end up playing for a conference championship, make the national tournament. So, they had 5 starters out on Sunday. There's 11 on the field. 5 of the stars were not playing because of injury or other circumstances. So, hopefully it's a rallying point for the team, and we can head in the right direction.
Yeah. When do they play next?
Conference opener at Ave Maria. We're 3-1 against the Gyrenes the last 4 years, 21-1 all time. They beat us in 2021 in a tight game, but the games with Ave Maria are always tight. And we've had some barn burners the last few years, so it's going to be a good one on Saturday.
Now, would you remind us what a gyrene is? Is that a dog? I don't know, honestly.
It is a dog.
Okay.
And I think we read. I was down there for the men's basketball playoff game last year. I'm like, what the heck is a gyrene? So I Googled it, and it is associated with the Marines. And so it's in some way
fighting dog.
Yeah, I mean their logo is it looks like a bulldog.
Okay.
But I've never heard a bulldog called a gyrene. So
yeah.
It's a good question though.
Yeah,
it's the kind of things we like to look into.
I'm sure a lot of people wonder when we play them, what's a gyrene?
Yes.
So anyway, that's coming up. They're going to Ave Maria on Saturday. That's
1 o'clock.
Great.
Yep.
Great. As far as women's golf, coming up, they're opened up the season by winning the Coastal Georgia Invitational last week. Marley Smith also won the individual title. She shot a 139.
139, great score. The women this is their 8th tournament win in the last 3 years, so they're really ticking up. And great start for the fall. Their first time out.
How about the men?
The men, they play in the Seahawks shootout this Sunday and Monday in West Palm Beach. But what everybody should put on their calendars is something we were talking about pre-show. SU Invitational, October 27th to 29th at Grasslands. It'll be men and women. It's one of their few home matches of the year, so we want to make sure we're out for that.
It's always great to catch them on the home links.
Yep.
So if you're around, you want to see if you can get out there and watch them compete. Men's soccer has not played since our last show, and I'm sure the rest has kind of been nice, but when do they return to the pitch?
Actually play today, 3 o'clock, just over an hour from now at Thomas University. Then they'll host Ave Maria in their conference opener here at the SU Soccer Complex at 1 p.m.
All right, great. And then football, last but not least, where we return to action this Saturday, a home game against number 22 ranked Reinhardt at 7 p.m. on Victory Field. How's that matchup looking?
It's interesting. We come out against Faulkner, a team we lost to in overtime last year. We roll them 34-0. interesting is that Reinhardt played Faulkner at Faulkner this past Saturday.
Okay.
And they were winning 21-7, fourth quarter. Faulkner scores to make it. No, I'm sorry, 19-7. Faulkner scores to make it 19-14. They go 3 and out. Reinhardt does. Faulkner throws a bomb on the first play, and they score to go up 21-19. Faulkner, with less than a minute left, drives into field goal territory, and the kid hits a 52-yard game-winning field goal as time expires.
Wow.
So Reinhardt beat Faulkner 22-21. And so, I used to struggle with this as a coach because the student athletes, they look at scores.
Sure, absolutely.
So student athletes are going 34-0, 22-20. Oh, we got Reinhardt. But that's not the way it works.
No.
And so we've got to make sure we stay sharp, stay focused. And I think if we do, we should win the game. But, there's always those X factors that happen,
Absolutely. And it's going to be a big game because it's faculty and staff appreciation night, right?
It is. We'll get into some of the details on that later with our guests. But it's we do this one time a year. And so I know they're working on some videos to do shout outs to our faculty and staff for all they do for us.
Yeah, that's great. Well, we hope that we see a lot of our community out for the game on Saturday. We had a great opener, and this won't be any different. So make sure you can join us for a great game this coming Saturday.
7:00.
All right, the sponsor for today's show is Peterson and Myers. We love to talk about all good things happening in fire athletics, and those things can't happen without the support of all of our wonderful sponsors. Peterson and Myers takes pride in the accessibility of their experienced attorneys and in the thoughtful and innovative manner they solve problems for clients. In addition to legal skills, Peterson and Myers is personally and deeply involved in the communities in and around Polk County. Peterson Myers, PA, an official partner of fire athletics. Let's get back to the game experience when it comes to football. There's a lot that goes on behind the scenes when it comes to pulling off a home game. It's a great experience. It's a huge undertaking, and with us today, the two people who make what happens on game days go off with excellence. That's Brittney Kellar, who is our Associate AD, and Ashton Wheeler, Assistant AD for Facilities and Game Operations. Welcome to you both.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, are you excited about Game 2 at home?
Absolutely.
Yes, excited to make it a little bit better than last time.
Yeah.
Well, it was a great experience. Our home opener. It was one of the best I think we've ever had in our history. It was great.
I will say the positive comments after that game were not unlike the positive comments after our very first
game. Yep.
Because people hadn't seen it before, and they're all like, "Man, that was awesome."
Yeah.
And so I think people kind of got used to it, but then, for whatever reason, the game we had 2 weeks ago was just, it was a really special night.
Yeah.
And a lot of energy in the stadium, and 34-0 win helps.
Yep.
But it was really special. So when we talk about game day, let's start with what the two of you cover. Okay. So what are the game day areas you were both responsible for? Let's start with you, Ashton.
Yeah, so my staff, first and foremost, we're responsible for all the stuff that kind of makes the game running. So greeting officials, communicating with them ahead of time, getting them to the field, making sure they have all the equipment they need, and then supplying like the ball boys and the chain crew to kind of keep the game running fluidly so that there's no gaps or anything in how that's all working. Concessions is a big part of our game day, so we have a big group of student workers in concessions, anywhere between 12 to 15 student workers on any game day. So that's a big part of my day, is getting ready for all that and keeping them functioning in there. And then just a little bit of help with stuff that Brittney needs for parking or water boys, things like that.
Sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Officials are tough to deal with sometimes.
They can be, yeah, they can be.
But I will say at AD's meetings, I constantly get comments about how well we treat officials.
Oh,
I
that's
love
great.
that. Love that.
That's all you. So thank you.
Thank you.
That's great. Ashton, you mentioned your oversight of the concession area of the stadium. That's a very important area. If things go wrong, everyone knows it's because it involves all the food, right?
Absolutely.
And what are the things that are most important and maybe most challenging as you oversee that?
Yeah, I think one of the most challenging leading up to game day is just the prep for it. Obviously, we never know exactly how hungry people are going to be, how hot it's going to be if we're selling a ton of drinks or whatever that is. So trying to kind of manage, how much we fill and what we cook, what's ready to go when game day hits. And then, like I said, we have a lot of student workers in there. So trying to keep them all functioning well, make sure we're, running our systems well, that the lines are moving, people aren't getting stuck, all that kind of stuff. So. Yeah.
That's great.
Now, there's an addition at the concession stand this year, right?
There is, yes.
Talk about that.
Yeah,
a
so
little bit.
this year we actually have Domi's Italian Ice. They're selling out of our concessions.
I did
Yeah.
not realize that.
Previously it's been a truck, which has been really
Sure,
fun,
yeah.
but now we've got them in a window, so they're right with the rest of concessions. So that's been really cool.
Now, Brittney, there's been a lot of changes to the game day experience this year. Can you talk us through some of those things?
Yeah, I think it first starts with ticketing. We have a whole new approach to ticketing. We're trying to go a little bit more digital than we have in the past, which is a big change for people. We're really pushing people buy tickets online ahead of time. Cut down on that make the fan experience better on lines at game day. So it starts with that. And then when you actually get to the game, we have a few changes. Our biggest one being that the VIP tent is now in the game, in the end zone, which is, I've had a lot of positive feedback on that. I think
that's a great thing.
Yeah, it was really cool. We have some great sponsors who are providing us food. We're allowing people who purchase that package to come in, get into that restricted area, eat, mingle. We have some TV set up there that they can watch other college football games that are going on. And it's just a really cool experience that we've been able to provide the fans this year.
So
awesome.
You said in the end zone. Now, for the people who take words literally, we do not have the tent in the end zone.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a little
the
bit
north end
behind, for sure. Now, I know you both must work a ton with student workers to make sure that everything goes smoothly and goes well. What have you found to be the challenges with managing a staff that is pretty big, and what are some of the rewarding benefits of working with our amazing students?
So for me, I love the fact that I get to work with non-athletes for my student workers. Obviously, most of my time is spent around games and with teams. So for me, getting to hire some non-athletes is a really cool way for me to experience some of the general student population outside of just student athletes. Some of the challenges that go with that, obviously just the numbers. I mean, I've got a lot of student workers, so trying to keep them organized, keep them, on time, showing up when and what they're supposed to be, where they're going. Obviously, a lot of my jobs are very particular, so things like scoreboards or jobs like that, you got to really make sure that they fully understand the game and what they're doing. But for the most part, they do a great job, and it's really fun to work with them all.
What about the Flames? Who oversees
the Flames? I think that's usually media services that does those.
Yeah. All right.
On occasion, I'll see someone gets to go push the button, and
we
they
like
love
fire.
that. Though. Yeah, yes, we do.
That's great.
What about you, Britt?
I, as a former coach, I miss working with students, period. In administration, we don't get that hands-on as much. So working with the students on game day is really fulfilling for me in that sense. It kind of scratches that itch for me. But, it's always hard. They're students. They have their own lives. They have their class schedules. So getting them to be so available and so committed to what we're doing to give a good fan experience, good student-athlete experience is challenging. But I'm so impressed with how dedicated they are and how professional that they are. I had a ton of compliments that we have our yellow shirts up in the stands, and they're the ones who really interact with fans. They're greeting them, they're helping them with issues, and that can be really intimidating. And our students really step up, and they do a great job of being friendly faces and who are just ready to help and do whatever they need to do.
That's great.
Now, those particular people are so important because they're facing our guests,
right?
Like whether it's concessions or the yellow shirts up in the stands. And I think you guys do such a good job of making sure that they're professional, that they are. I mean, I get the comments too. And even last game, we made some changes to the red section where you can't just walk through there unless you have a ticket. And, people weren't happy about that. But I thought those student professionals that you had down there handled that with class. They were assertive, but they were kind. And so that's a kudos to you guys for the training that you do with them. As we mentioned earlier, it's Faculty and Staff Appreciation Day on Saturday night. Brittney, can you tell us what opportunities are available to those folks as they think about maybe coming to the game on Saturday?
Yeah, so we would love faculty and staff to come out RSVP because we are going to invite you to come pregame, be on the field when the team runs through the tunnel. We're going to invite faculty and staff to join that so they can take part in the pregame experience. Anybody who does take part in that is going to be given a raffle ticket. And at halftime, we're going to draw two different sets of winners. One will win VIP tickets into the VIP tent for the rest of this season, so they can go join that access, which also has parking, which is a huge deal to people, what I'm told. And then the other prize will be a set of 2 red seats for next year.
Oh, wow. That's a great opportunity. So I'm going to get our faculty out to have a chance to win that. That'll be great. All right, last question, and this one is for both of you as well. Our word of the year is fuel the fire. What does that mean to you as you go about your jobs here at SCU? And Brittney, we'll start with you.
Yeah, for me, as I mentioned before, I don't necessarily get the direct interaction with our kids. So for me, I really take that as being the field to our coaches, providing them with resources so that they can make their student athletes have a great experience, become better people, become great athletes. So what can we give to them? What kind of fuel can I provide them resource-wise, spiritually, emotionally? How can I be that fuel to them? So
that's great.
Yeah, I think like she mentioned as well, like we don't really get to work with athletes in the same capacity as coaches. So for us, it's finding ways that we can support both coaches and athletes. So for me this year, Fueling the Fire is really trying to embrace a sense of community between all of our teams and our athletic department in a whole. I think it's very easy for teams to kind of hang out with just their team. And so my focus is to kind of push that to really get our teams to interact and create like a supportive community entirely where our student athletes can really grow throughout their year around here. So
that's awesome. Well, thank you both for joining us today and kind of give us a behind-the-scenes look at all the fun things that happen at every Fire football game. And so if you can come out this Saturday night, 7 p.m., Victory Field, as we take on Reinhardt. It should be a great game.
I got the men's soccer match on earlier that day, 1 o'clock. Make sure you visit seufire.com for the latest news in Fire athletics. You can find the event calendar there, as well as a link to watch all of our home games for free. Good luck to all of our teams this weekend.
All right, thanks for joining us, everybody, and go Fire.
Go Fire.